Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews, and right now we are talking about a show that is already 3 seasons deep, and I just found out about it yesterday. It's called Channel Zero. It's an anthology series, kind of like what Castle Rock is trying to be right now, except as far as scares go, this show has me more tense and into it and like affected in the right scary ways more than any episode of Castle Rock has done yet so far in their first season. And that's not to knock Castle Rock, it's a different animal, but this is actually scary. And I was skeptical because I don't find things scary or to the point where I go, oh, like, you know, I'm like really creeped out. At the very least, I don't get like that. This first episode, got to give it a thumbs up for definite creepy factor, definitely making me tense. And it's just the first episode. I hope it can hold its own, you know, as it goes on. There's only 6 episodes, which is great. That is a great idea, you know, to just do it in 6 episodes. It means you can get rid of all the fucking bullshit and make a concise story so that you're not having to have like 3, 4, 5 episodes in there of just kind of dead weight filler. But I don't know. I haven't seen the other 5, so hopefully I'm not wrong about that. This show does have Max Landis' name attached to it, so I was a little skeptical because although I think Max Landis has great ideas and original ones and original takes on things, a lot of times it's the execution of those ideas that doesn't always work. But here, at least for the first episode, I don't know how much influence, I don't know, like how much he was into this show, like how much he was a part of this, but as far as first episodes go, it's pretty damn good. So the show is called Candle Cove. We're at season 1, episode 1, and it's called You Have to Go Inside. So this story is about a guy named Mike, who when he was a kid, he had a twin brother named Eddie. And when they were kids, 5 kids went missing, and one of them was his twin brother, and they were found like dead, except for his brother. And this has kind of haunted him his whole life. And he's become a child psychologist. And as we first see him, he's at on this talk show, kind of like Charlie Rose type show. And at first I thought this was going to be really lame because they kind of do one of these things where they're asking him about his past and everything, which makes sense. If you're a child psychologist and something traumatic happens, you should expect to have people asking questions about you, because how did you become a child psychologist? Does it have to do with the trauma that you suffered as a kid? And if that trauma you suffered, does that make you effective as a doctor? But then the host kind of puts him on the spot. Not kind of, he puts him on the spot and gives him this phone and says, hey, we got a kid on the line here. We'd like you to talk to him. Any normal person, it would just be like, I'm not doing this. I'm not talking to just some kid that I don't know. You're trying to do some kind of stunt. I'd be out of there quick. So I thought, okay, this is getting lame. Like, why am I watching something that just wouldn't happen? And I know how that sounds. You're watching a fictional show. Well, guess what? I like a little reality. I like people to do things in a smart way. I don't just like to watch stupid shit for the sake of stupid shit all the time. Sorry, that's because I had a comment not too long ago about how I draw the lines about fiction and what I'll watch and what I won't watch. So anyway, he's looking out at the cameras, and all of a sudden they're all mannequins. And so at least I go, okay, this is like a goddamn nightmare, like literally, because you can't see the host's face anymore. And then he goes, why are you afraid to go home again? And it hard cuts, no sound, not some jump scare, cuts to this image of something on fire, and it's just creepy and unexpected. And I didn't like get scared, but I definitely went, whoa, okay, what is that? So we go to the next, where he wakes up, and he goes back home. He goes back to his hometown, Iron Hill, I think it's called. And he goes back and sees his mother, which is, it's definitely been a long time. It's a little awkward. She's hanging out with one of the girls of the town. I don't know what she does. Maybe she's a piano teacher or something. I don't know. But it's an awkward greeting because after being gone a really long time. So he ends up at the police station to get the files on the case that nobody's ever solved, these murders. And it would make sense that he kind of wants to know. I mean, even though in a small town, everybody, and especially in TV shows and movies, everybody's always like, well, people are going to start talking. Like, why would people start talking unless you told them I have the files? Like, do you plan on telling everybody so that they can all be creeped out? I never understand that. Like, people are going to want to know why you're reading the files. Like, well, then just don't tell them. So anyway, he agrees to let him see the files as long as he helps him like talk to his kid because he thinks his kid's being weird. And it's also, something you should know is that the sheriff clearly has a connection to Mike, that they knew each other when they were kids, and it doesn't sound like this guy was very nice to him. In fact, there's flashbacks of him and Mike and his twin brother where they're being picked on by a bully pretty hard, like brutally hard. Like they got bruises and broken fingers end up happening and stuff. And I bet dollars to donuts as of right now, I have to say that the sheriff was probably that bully in the flashbacks. So Mike does agree, to help him so he can see the files. And they have this like dinner where it's like everybody that works at the sheriff's office and the sheriff's wife, who it appears that Mike and Eddie and the sheriff's wife were all friends, and the sheriff wasn't part of that group. So another reason why I think he's the bully from their flashbacks, which it's pretty hard to watch. It does remind me of things from like Stephen King's It, where you got the group of smaller kids being picked on by bigger kids. Except in this, it's a lot more effective than anything I've seen on Castle Rock. But again, I don't want to pound Castle Rock. I don't want to diss it too much. I know people love it. But they're reminiscing. They're talking about stuff that's kind of hard to talk about. I mean, it's what they went through as kids was all like this huge traumatic thing. And that's pretty much all that really connects them. So it doesn't feel like they have much to talk about other than this terrible thing that happened to them in the past. Well, Mike goes to go to the bathroom, and this is where we see the daughter that was hanging out with Mike's mother. She's watching TV. But nobody else sees her watching TV yet. She's watching this really creepy looking puppet show that you can only kind of see. And it's weird because the screen starts acting weird and starts getting all staticky and poppy. And then the whole screen that we're looking at. So like I'm watching this and my screen goes and something flashes in front of it. And I tried to pause it to see what it was like multiple times. And after a while I was like, you know what? I'll find out eventually whatever the hell that thing was that they were showing me. But it was working. I was getting creeped out. Pretty creepy. Creepy puppet shows. Well, when Mike sees her standing there, she's not watching anything, but she says, like, it just went off. And she's watching the same show that they watched when they were kids. This show that came on in the 2 months that the kids went missing and then were found murdered. And then once they were found, the show stopped. And it hasn't been played since, until now. Now the kids are starting to see this show, or at least we know this one is, so it's going to be a thing. So he comes back to the table and he's like, hey, has that show been coming up again? And they all don't know how she would know about it. Nobody would tell them about it because they all talk about how they had nightmares, and they also like how they have different memories of it. Like she's like, the sheriff's wife is like, yeah, I remember I used to have this nightmare where there was just an episode of all of them screaming, or I had a nightmare where all the puppets were screaming. And the one guy goes, no, that was an episode. So I feel like it's affecting them like in their dreams differently. Like some thinks it's reality, some thinks it's a nightmare, some thinks it's, an episode. Well, it ends up this conversation gets Mike really upset, even though he's the one who brought it up. And he leaves. And then the next thing you know, it's like he's standing in a field and it's like early morning and he doesn't know how he got there, and his mother's like, you were sleepwalking. And he goes inside and then he looks out and he sees somebody standing out by the woods, and he's like, there's somebody standing out there. And she's like, oh, people walk through the woods all the time, whatever. And he's like, no, but that guy was just standing there. And so then you cut to the sheriff's wife looking for their daughter, and she's gone. So right after the show's been on and she was looking at it, she goes missing, and now Mike has this missing time. So add 2 and 2 together, and it looks like they're trying to set him up as he's going to be the one that everybody thinks is doing something. Like, this didn't start until he came back in their heads, you know? Like, but they go find him to go help look for their daughter. And this is where, you know, and in the midst of all this, we've had some flashbacks of the kids getting picked on. We had a scene where Mike is in his bedroom and the fucking skeleton from the show is standing in his room. And that was fucking creepy because he reaches out to it and keeps reaching until it's just like so uncomfortable. And that's when it cuts away to where he's standing in the field, I think. And that's effective as hell. But it also makes me go, oh great, so like how is he a part of this? Was he a part of it back then too? And if that's all this is, then I will be disappointed, because if it can put that, you know, if he can put the pieces of it together that quickly, that's just not good storytelling in general. But so he's out there trying to help, and the sheriff's wife, you know, that used to be friends with him, she starts asking questions, and they're not wrong questions to ask, because then you find out that prior to him coming to town, he was in a mental institution. He was self-checked in because he had a psychotic episode. And that's where you see where he was cutting himself up. And he came back, though, he says, because it's like basically been calling him back here. And so he takes off because she's already like going, calling for her husband because she's afraid of him now. So he goes home to find his gun, and he goes out to this signal tower. Okay, so the signal tower, it doesn't seem like anybody knows what it's there for, or at least they haven't said why it's out there. It's out in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's not like a TV station or something where people, at least it seems, where somebody could be broadcasting this show, like, or making the show and broadcasting it. No, it just sounds like there's a friggin' tower out there and nobody knows what it's about. And that's where they found the kids' dead bodies. Wow, 2 and 2 together. TV show, TV signal, kids go missing, you find them out there, and then the show goes quiet when you find them? Why didn't somebody knock down that fucking tower? Because, look, I hate to knock the simplicity of thinking of sometimes how small towns are, but you would have thought that they would have been like, take that fucking tower down. But no, it's still there. Well, Mike goes out there and he sees the skeleton man standing there. And again, he reaches out. And then again, I was getting tensed up because nothing's happening until he grabs him, and Mike uses the knife, cuts him, and now he's chasing him through the woods. And he get to this quarry, like where the signal thing is, and he starts having flashes of like a kid dropping off the cliff while his brother's standing there. You also see his brother with like a fucking thing in his, like, stabbed through his side. And we get back to Mike in the present, and he's hearing this noise, this fucking creepy ass noise. And he's like, who's back there? And I don't want to know. To be honest with you, I don't want him to go back there. But he does, and he finds the girl. And so he picks her up and he takes her away. He's like, you know, he's saving her. But there's 2 teeth laying there. And then it doesn't cut away from that shot. And I'm like, okay, you keep hearing that noise, and you keep hearing that noise. And it was like, okay, they're going to cut away, right? They're going to cut away, right? Like, I'm not sure I want to see what's about to, you know, if. Now, I couldn't make up my mind if I would have felt gypped if they didn't show me what was making that noise or not. But they do show me what was making that noise, and it doesn't help me. Because it's this thing that looks like this, that's like made out of fucking teeth, and like takes the teeth and like it's just like, and then like it just cuts away, and I'm like, oh good God, what is this? Like, I don't like this, but like in the best possible way. Well, he brings the kid back, and he's in jail, and the sheriff's like, you know, you still got questions and everything, and I brought you your fucking daughter back and all this stuff. And you see kids then like watching the show. It's on again. And they're watching this part where the little pirate kid and his like talking boat are headed to this place called Bravery Cave. And this weird looking peg leg looking thing is like, come on inside and I'll show you how to like do this. And I'm like, oh, fuck off, man. No wonder the kids were getting nightmares watching this shit. And then it gets all dark as he gets to the cave, and then you start to see the skeleton, and then it's all, and I'm just like, fuck off. Like, this would have been something that I watched as a kid, had nightmares, and I would still probably be recalling those like nightmares. And it'd probably be something that I'd be trying to find on Amazon to rewatch, to give myself nightmares again, just to remind myself, was that real? Did I remember that correctly? So anyway, Mike's got a long way to figure out what's going on, and this is just pretty interesting as far as the first episode goes. So I'm sure I'm missing something here at the end, but yeah, this is good, and I'm ready to keep going. I won't be making another video for it tonight because tonight we got Sharp Objects and the series finale of Sharp Objects, where we get to have the underwhelming mystery solved. And we have the season finale of Preacher tonight as well. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications and all that jazz. And that's about it. This is Rob for Smirking Gun Reviews saying I hope you like this video. Thanks for watching it. And let me know what you think of this show. Should I keep watching? Does it get terrible? Does it get better? Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.